Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Talk. I'm Sharia Woods, and I'm here with the phenomenal Lynn Forrest, author of Guiding Principles for Life Beyond Victim Consciousness, and a lot more. She has written so much in her 40 years of practice in this great work, as she calls it. And we are here to talk about real life experiences through the lens of the guiding principles and universal laws, which are essentially one in the same. So, Lynn, I'm so glad to have you back again for week three. We've been here 3 weeks
Yay.
already.
It's
So,
fun. I'm enjoying it very much. You're doing a great job, Sharia. Y'all excuse my woundedness here. Reminds me of when I was a little girl, I wanted, had to have a Band-Aid. But this is dermatology. I went to my dermatologist today and there was a spot there they wanted to biopsy. So it seems like me and the Florida sunshine have run-ins since I've lived here. I'd never had any of this until I moved to Florida, and I have to remember to put my sun stuff on. When I don't, I end up with, this. So don't, well, I thought once you know what it is, you can look at it all you want. It's just a Band-Aid, but I do need to leave it on for 24 hours. So I'm being a good girl. I'm following orders. So that's what's going on right there on my face.
well, thank you for sharing that, Lynn. I'm sure anybody who's watching is glad to know what's happening, so we could just dive right
Let
in.
that go. Yeah, let that go. It's no big deal.
Well, last 2 weeks we have come on and talked about the victim triangle, and you talked about what victim consciousness is. So if you haven't seen that, we'll link those in the description. Go back and watch those episodes. But today, I have had an experience that I would like to share with Lynn and get her wisdom and sight around where possibly me and the people who had this experience were on the victim triangle. And maybe it'll be something that you can relate to, or you've had an experience with somebody in your life and you would like to write a question or write a scenario, and we can talk about it on one of the next episodes. So today I'll be a bit of a guinea pig. And Lynn, I'd like to share with you something that took place that seemed a bit out of the ordinary and at a gas station. It was a relational exchange. And I'd love for you to talk about where you see it on the triangle, and we'll go from there if that works for you.
Sure. I think that sounds good. The first thing right out of the box I would just say is just the reminder that, of course, it is going to be relevant to you, whatever it is. It's something that you attract. This is something that I would say it's probably the most often misunderstood, or just we just don't get how it is that we attract every single thing that comes into our life. It is a vibrational mirroring, a reflection of our own process, and it's come to help us become conscious around that. It is for us in that regard. It's purposeful. It has meaning. So right off, I don't even know what you're about to share, but I want you to know, when you were saying it seemed a bit unusual, I'm like, yeah, it has a message for you. So we'll be looking for that as you tell me the
Awesome.
story, what happened.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that. That's a really important point. When you talk about the guiding principle that there are no accidents and no coincidences, that seems to be what you're referring to just there.
It is. And if I could say one more thing there, the reason that is so, I think it's really important because we're like, how can that have anything to do with me? Well, because the world that you're walking around in, the world that you're intermingling with, that's your projection of energy. And the reason we know that is because we are energetic beings, and the way energy works is that we have whatever our thoughts are going to have a particular resonance, a particular frequency that is, you can just think of it as, we're transmitting the frequency of our own thinking, of our own belief system, what it is we think and believe. is being vibrated out. And that's going to attract that which mirrors it for us so that we can identify, what am I walking around in? What am I believing? And what is that attracting? How would I like it to be? So this is how it is that we know, only always, never not true, that what I experience is going to be a reflection of what it is I'm believing.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Shall we dive in?
Please, let's do.
Okay. So a couple of weeks ago, we were getting ready to record, I think it was the first episode of this reality talk show. And I was wanting to get home quickly, but I needed gas. I was very, very low. And the closest and cheapest gas station was a mile away, but I had some hesitancy because I said, I don't, that gas station is a little bit rough around the edges. It's a little grimy. I don't really love it, but it's cheap. Okay, I'm going to it because I want to get the gas and get back home. And I pull up, I start pumping my gas, and I run my card, I start pumping my gas, and then all of a sudden, about $1.50 to $2 in, the gas pump just cuts off. And so I look at it and I keep pushing it, like trying to make it work. It doesn't. And then a young man runs out of the store and says, the manager needs you in there. Now, I didn't move immediately because I don't know, I just don't move when people tell me to move. So I
Was
didn't.
it, were you picking up something vibrationally? Was there something like, was there a hesitancy because it didn't feel right, or was there any of that going on?
It was I can't quite recall it. I thought something had happened maybe with the gas pump, but I wasn't going to just immediately fly in. I can't remember what I needed to do first, but whatever. I don't know. Maybe I have no idea. Maybe I tried it again. Maybe I didn't put the two and two together. I can't remember exactly.
Mhm.
But I did go in because the gas pump definitely wasn't turning back on.
Cooperating. Mhm.
Maybe I tried to run the card again. That's
Mm.
maybe I sort of dismissed that frantic come in here, he needs you, and said, oh, I'm just gonna run my card again and see if it'll start over. And then I realized when it didn't, maybe that message was had something to do with, like why this gas pump isn't working. So I go in and the store, I guess, owner, the one who's behind the cash register said, you owe me, I think he said $2. And I didn't say anything. I just looked at him and I, and then he said, well, because you pumped his gas, pointing to the young man who ran out. And I said, oh, okay, now what? He's like, well, you just need to pay, what you pumped his gas. And then I didn't, I said, now say that again. And he said, never mind, forget it, just forget it. I'll pay for it. Don't worry about it. And then I was like, well, no, I can pay for it. I just wanted to he said, well, you were sitting there looking, I, I said, I'll pay for it. He's like, no, I don't want your money. I don't want it. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, you were sitting there looking dumbfounded. Now I heard the word dumb and that
Mm.
set something off in
Mm.
me. It was
Mm.
like, and then I said, now I said, wait a minute, no, and I jumped into a kind of like you weren't
Blame.
telling me what I
Hmm.
needed to know. And then another woman was standing right there. The young man had since exited. A young woman was standing and she said, what he's saying is you pumped his gas. And I said, I get that. I know what, now I get it, but I didn't think it was $2. And he said, forget it. I'm gonna pay for it out of my pocket. And I was like, I've got a card. He's like, nope, don't want it. And I said, well, that's not very kind. And he said, I don't care. And then I said, well, I will not be back here. And I exited and I guess finished up. I don't know if I suppose I did finish up with the gas that I was already had, you know, run my card with. Anyhow, it was just strange. And now that we're talking about it, it's been so long ago. It doesn't have the charge that it had when it was
How
happening.
did you go away feeling?
Um,
What was the thing that
oh,
triggered you the most?
oh, I felt a little shaky inside, like jello, kind of like a little jello-y inside, a little shaken up. Um, but I suppose I had an expectation that if I wanted to know some information, somebody's telling me I have a charge, then they would take the time to give it to me and not like I just yeah, it's hard. I'm not sure if I can talk about this. I mean,
Does it feel like you were being judged as
uh,
someone less than somehow, or that you were being uh, zeroed in on as being a problem or problematic or something wrong with you, like you're not smart enough, or you did it on purpose, or
well,
anything
well,
like that?
well, the did it on purpose part afterwards, I did say I think I had an expectation that I didn't express, that if something went wrong at the pump, that they would take care of it. I don't think I expected to be charged for that, and I did not say that when I walked into that gas, convenience market. Um,
Yet
so
it's interesting that you were willing to pay it. What was that about? You didn't really believe that it was yours to do. And yet when he said, I'll do it, you were like, no, 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 I'll do it. That's interesting, isn't it?
it is. It is.
Where did that come from in you?
Because the way he said it, the way he said I'll do it, he's like, never mind, I'll just pay for it. And then that is where I was like, well, why do you want to, what? I'm here. And he's like, no, you acting like you don't understand what I'm saying. And so that piece right there, that type of,
Because so what was the message you heard about you from him? What did you hear him saying about you?
hmm. I don't think I've reflected on that actually.
Mm.
Yeah, what did I hear him saying to me? What was the
Yeah,
me
what was the inference?
Okay, okay.
He was inferring what about you to you? What did you hear?
I don't know. It's more like I felt frozen. More I don't know if I even was
Like I
ref
did it wrong. I did something, that I shouldn't have. It's like I'm hearing that you took responsibility for what had happened. I mean, for me, I think it would have been interesting to me to know how I could have pumped his gas. I don't see, yeah.
because he paid for and at first, I mean, I got it quickly, but they were talking to me like I didn't get it. That's the thing. That's kind of like the place where I got a little hung up on it because I got what happened even though they weren't explaining it clearly. The man beside me told the guy I'm on pump 1 and he was actually on pump 2 and I was on pump 1. So the person behind the register ran the young man's card for my pump. That's
So
what happened.
in reality, who was responsible for the error?
The cashier was.
Yeah, I to me that's the
Oh
point.
my gosh, the cashier was. But
Yeah.
when I came in the door, the first thing he said was, "You owe me $2." And that's why I
Where
was like, wait, what?
and where was he on the triangle just then? What, where
Persecutor.
yeah.
Or,
And where yeah. And what he did was what persecutors often do, which is turn the blame on someone else. When they are guilty, they turn to blame rather than being able to take ownership. And it's interesting. So, but what you did without even thinking about it is take responsibility for it. Okay, okay, I'll pay.
Not at first. At first, I just looked. I didn't say yes. And it was only
Mm.
in my silence that he said, "Well, I'll just pay for it." And then
How,
I jumped in and said, "Now hold on now. I can pay for this."
yeah. So you were willing to take responsibility for what wasn't yours. If you had not been gotten hooked into feeling responsible for it, how would you have responded differently?
It's interesting because these ants are crawling all over right now, by the way, Lynn. We had to pause everybody because I had to take care of the ant thing that was happening, but let's dive right back in. Thanks, Lynn.
I was just about to ask you, you had said that because we were looking at how it is you got hooked into taking responsibility for what it was, for what wasn't your responsibility.
Yes,
And
right.
what you did, what he was able to do with you is turn the blame on you and you automatically took it.
That's where I was kind of
Hmm.
clarifying was at first when he said it, because that you're right, that is exactly what happened. He said I was responsible and I didn't at first take it. I just looked at him, and then that's when he said, "Never mind, I'll pay for it." And so I when the extra persecution, when the extra like, well, never mind, when he turned and said, "I'll pay for it," that's where I
What
said,
does that remind you of? Think
I,
back in your life in terms of, because I have a definite, just from the work you've done with me over the years, a definite idea of where you may have felt that same feeling of like you are guilty for something that wasn't yours to be guilty about,
well,
and that
I'd love to say here that I forgot all about my original thought that this is not mine to pay. It was like I wasn't actually in touch with that part of myself, that little whisper of a hint of a thought of like, wait a minute, if something happened with this gas pump, the cashier needs to take care of it, or the gas, whatever, the yeah, needs to take care of it. And then when I went in there, I actually separated from that part of my knowing. I I I really did. And when I looked at him just maybe wide-eyed, he called it dumbfounded. It that does feel familiar, and I feel tears now as I'm saying it again. Um, because it's like one thing that's coming up is people don't the belief that people don't understand my expressions. They don't understand what's happening in my mind. They make assumptions, and then I jump in to sort of like defend my, like, hold on, no, you're not gonna. It's kind of like I go and I don't know if that would be rescuing myself from this or what, but me saying I will pay for it was sort of maybe a way for me to tell him, I don't need you. I don't need your money. I don't care anymore. I'm not even thinking about whose responsibility it is. Now I just want to let him know you've done me wrong, and I don't need to take your money. And so that's sort of where I
so
jumped.
basically you responded to him in a very very similar way as he was responding to you, reacting to you,
Yeah, in a way,
which
yes.
was from a place of except that he was shoving off responsibility. He was playing the good persecutor role, which is to make you feel guilty, and then you want to make up for it. You assume the guilt. And even though it's kind of like you do it from this place of, I can take care of myself. I don't need it anyway. And, I don't need you, kind of something like that. But I tell you what it reminds me of. I think I think you tapped into, or what you did was you drew to yourself an opportunity to see a pattern of
Mhm.
doing that very thing with your father as a little girl when he left and it was your fault. Remember that?
If you're listening out there and you're wondering what we're talking about, it and hopefully you can see something in your life situation from this dialogue that Lynn and I are having here. So if you see something that resonates with you, we would love for you to put that in the comments. Or if you have an experience that left you a bit uncertain, puzzled, or you felt, like I said, jello, you felt some sort of sensation that was different from peace, we would also love for you to put that in the comments and we can talk about those things on some of the next episodes. I just wanted to say that, take a little break to say that I think I felt responsible, Lynn, when I said I wanted to live with my mom and my dad stopped talking to me. And then I did think, well, it's because of what I said. It's because of what I said that my dad went away and stopped talking to me.
Hmm. Yeah, I made him do it.
Right. Me and what I spoke to the judge is why, and then I don't speak to people. I don't speak my mind. I hadn't for a very long time, and just I'm just beginning to slowly do that. But I always feel apprehensive when I start to speak something. I feel very nervous, shaky inside, that I think somebody might not like.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like so where do you go when you right at that moment, when you take it on, where have you gone on the triangle?
Into victim, I would suppose,
Into
maybe
victim and then,
rescuer.
yeah.
I thought rescuer actually first, but I was
Mhm.
like, how would that be rescuer? So,
Yeah, because you're taking responsibility for what's not yours.
right. Right. It's
Yeah,
so ingrained, I don't even really see it.
exactly. Yeah, it's a pattern and it's being made manifest for your, uh, expansion
Mhm.
pleasure. The opportunity to see the pattern that you play out. And we all have patterns. We all do. That's we come here to make those conscious because they turn into these patterns become, if we will uh, recognize their potency and their potential to, they turn into vehicles of
Mm.
of clearing, of moving us past the stuckness. And so again, I started out by saying there's no accident that you through that service station and got into an encounter where you from your innocence got turned on and took responsibility. And even though it was like it's almost as if at some point he recognized that it really wasn't you, but he couldn't just say, hey, it's really on me, it wasn't your fault. No, he couldn't quite do that, but he could do this kind of, well, I just, I'll pay it, it's mine to pay. He did that.
I
Right.
just something just came to me. I I think there was a a pla a part of me that thought I knew something was wrong with that gas pump, and I pumped it anyway.
Hmm.
So there's that piece.
And
Like,
that's good to recognize because that's you taking responsibility for your what happens in your life, for what comes across your path. But also it's that uh it's encouraging you to pay attention to that voice that does recognize, like, something's not right here. I don't know what it is, but it's also okay that you went through it because you wouldn't have gotten as much out of it as you just have by recognizing what was going on if you hadn't fallen for it, so to speak.
Mhm. Well, I'm curious if we had a do-over, another opportunity, um, eh, I don't even
Where would the point of intervention be if you had responded, if there'd been nothing in you that got into thinking it was yours to clean up,
Mhm.
how might you have handled it?
Oh,
And
oh,
I
yes. Well, and I believe first I would need to know, like, hey, this isn't mine to clean up. Because when that gas pump was going and I thought my that something was weird with my card, but the gas was going, I did have a thought, like I said, of like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll get some free gas. Oh, that's cool. What a gift. And so when I go in there and he is, you need to pay $2, I kind of freeze. So I would love to explore what's another possibility besides freeze when someone's like, says something very abruptly as I walk into a place or something.
yeah, I think you could just say, "Oh wow, I walked in on this and not wasn't really aware, so I apologize. How would you like to handle it?" And when he did this whole thing about I'll pay for it, blah blah, you could just say, "Well, I appreciate that. Thank you." Let him take responsibility for what is his
Mm.
instead of you instead of you thinking, "Oh, it's mine to clean up."
Well, it's like
And
because he was yelling he would pay for it, then I say, "No, never mind." But I could just say, "Okay, great. Thanks."
thank you very much. Yeah,
Even
appreciate
if
it.
he's yelling, it's not my I don't need to make him stop yelling.
No, no, and you don't
With
even
that,
have
I
to
don't
take it.
wanna
You don't
go.
have to take it on.
Right. Right.
'Cause see that as a persecutor, my hunch is that what you're dealing with in that personality is a what we call starting gate persecutor. That is that whenever he feels wrong, he turns to
Mhm.
blame someone else. That's what persecutors do. And for you as a rescuer, starting gate rescuer, which is being highlighted here and you're being given the opportunity to see the various ways that you take responsibility for things that aren't yours
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
fix. That you're like, I'll fix it.
Right, especially when you said, "Wait a minute, whose responsibility was that if he ran the pump?" If the person said pump number 2, whose responsibility is that actually? And
Hmm.
it's not pump number 2. You're right, that wasn't mine, but it so feels like mine because I was there with the pump too as well.
Well, and you put your card in, you'd done everything, so there was no reason for you to doubt that that gas was for you. Even when it stopped, it's like, the first thought probably wasn't, "Yeah, oh, somebody, this is his gas." It
No, it
would be
wasn't.
more, yeah, it would be
I thought
more
there was
like
a malfunction. The pump,
something's
right,
wrong with the pump.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not your fault either.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so
Okay,
interesting
it is.
to notice how quick you are to take responsibility for what is not yours.
Very true. As a person who's been in education, in the field of education and working with young children, it is even that's baked in. We are responsible for all of these things that really aren't ours. And I'm glad I
Hmm.
stepped out of that field because um, I really wasn't able to shoulder all of that responsibility anymore. So, so yeah, this
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's good. And you're taking it all the way back to where that first got set up. It's
right.
when you started taking responsibility for
My
your
dad.
mom and dad's, yeah, your dad's behavior and your mom and dad's unhappy.
More like my dad's behavior, not my mom and dad's unhappiness. I didn't, but somebody out there, because I believe you're saying it for a reason. There is probably somebody out there who did take responsibility for their parents' unhappy marriage or relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
then maybe you can speak to that person, um, and let.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, hopefully just in this example, it becomes it's we see how sneaky the roles are. These are patterns and they're habits and they're even addictions. You can call it any of that. And it is just it's a react that's built in to the pattern that we've been living out of all of our lives. And it comes into our lives so that we can make it conscious. Because when we make it conscious, we can move into observer and watch it and not need to have to fix it or blame or any of it. It's just, oh, wow, this is familiar.
Well, one thing I will say, interesting, I'm thinking about when you said going into the gas station and saying, "Oh, I apologize." W- In that taking responsibility in some way? I don't generally.
Well, just no, but well, it depends. Like what you're apologizing for is, oh, you're sorry that there's been a mix up. You're not saying I mix things up. It's just, oh wow, there's been a mix up. Wow. How can I what how can I help? Or not to say even that. Just go in and when you're looking dumbfounded, you could just say, well, dumbfounded. Yeah, that is a funny word now that I think about it.
Right?
Uh, right? But
Uh,
when you go in and they're saying something, it's, hey, of course you're dumbfounded. You're taken by surprise.
yes.
So
Yes, I
you
am
you
taken
know
by surprise. You are correct.
Yeah, and so
Say
you
that.
could just say, "Well, I'm trying to make sense of it. So
Yes.
please, you know, work with me here. Help me make sense of it." Oh, are you saying,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but you don't have to react about it unless you just need to, and then you do need to,
Right.
because that's how we figure out what our part is. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I feel like this has been a longer episode because we really delved into this experience. And so I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you, Lynn,
But
having giving the
it,
time.
it Yeah, it was a good example of how it is that the work is for us.
Mhm.
No matter what, we can always say, how is this familiar? What does it remind me of? Where am I on the triangle now? Where are they? Where am I? What triggered me? You can just learn from it if you want to. You don't have to. The universe gives us so many examples, and if you don't get this time, then there'll be other times that it will come around again, because you're always being given the opportunity to expand your consciousness. And the main thing that it's a very different point. We don't get this too much in our world. The understanding that everything is for us. It might be painfully so, but it's still so. And yeah, we're getting this opportunity to make peace with our world by understanding how it is we react and look at options. How might I have done it? So, which I think you got that here too, right? So
Yes, absolutely. Well,
good.
wonderful. Well, we will end on that note, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Reality Talk. Bring your questions, your comments, and we love you. See you next
We
time.
do love you. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, coming by, and come back and sit with us. Bring your opportunities, your for growth and awakening, especially if you don't quite see it, if you're stuck in the loop and don't quite see how it's for you. We want to invite you. Come explore with us.